Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about my Tilly and the Buttons Cleo dress. So I decided to make this as part of the Great British Sewing Bee Challenge hosted by Satisfaction. I was hoping to make this anyway, but I was planning to make it towards the end of the year, that kind of lull between Christmas and New Year, which I know sounds very organised that I've had that plan in place for so long. But anyway, when I saw that I think one of the week's challenges was to upcycle, so I thought, great, let's get this project brought forward and get it done for the Sewing Bee Challenge. So I've made this out of 2 pairs of size 16 jeans. So what I'm going to do, so there'll be 2 parts to this video. The first part, I'm just going to really briefly review the pattern because loads of people have made the Cleo dress. And there's not much else really to say on that subject, but I'll just tell you personally how I found the pattern. And second, I'm going to show you how I managed to cut out the pieces from 2 pairs of jeans, just in case someone's interested. I would say that the Cleo dress is a really good one for upcycling, just because the pattern pieces are very simple and quite nice shapes, so it's a good jumping point to gain some confidence in upcycling. But yeah, that's why I chose this pinafore pattern in particular. There weren't too many fits, and I thought it's a nice blank canvas to put your own mark on. So let me show you the Cleo dress on me at the moment. I normally have it on my dress form when I review a pattern, but I was wearing it today anyway, so I thought I'd just review it while I'm wearing it. So just step back a bit. Okay, so as you can see, I've made the knee length version. Which in the knee length version it does have a slit at the front, but I've actually, I saw other people have done this, I've reversed it and put it in the back, so I'm not sure you can see it, but yeah, it's a back slit instead of a front slit. And so yeah, I've gone with the hip pockets as well, and that's more to do with the fact that I've upcycled from the jeans, so I've taken 2 of the back pockets from one of the sets of jeans and stitched them where I would have put the patch pockets for the hip ones. And I've gone with doing some visible top stitching, which I think you can just about see. And I'm currently wearing it with the Frankie t-shirt from the Stretch book, also by Tilly Ones. So in terms of difficulty, it's a really simple make, because you're making it out of a nice stable woven fabric, such in this case it's denim. I would say the main challenge is that you've got multiple layers of denim if you choose to make it in denim, but if you choose a slightly lighter weight fabric, it will be a lot easier. Although I've got to say I do like this thick denim just because it's really substantial. I find it doesn't really crease an awful lot, and it just, yeah, it's really nice to wear. That's what I would say about upcycling. If there's quite a lot of the fabric that's still not bad quality, or it is a nice quality denim like these 2 are, then I'd really recommend using that, just because you might get a good value item out of it instead of spending lots of money on a new piece of fabric. I forgot to mention as well actually, so I've got one of the sets of jeans I've made out the front bit, and I've obviously used the back jeans pockets from the other pair of jeans because they look a bit different. But on the back I've used that set of the other set of jeans to cut some of the pieces, although I do have a bit of the other jeans on the back as well because I couldn't quite cut it out in one piece from the other set of jeans. Right, so yeah, it's a really simple make. I made a size 4, which is what I normally do for Tilly and the Buttons patterns. In terms of other variations, apart from obviously adapting the fabric I was using, or the jeans I was using, to make them fit, I didn't make any adjustments to the pattern apart from moving the front slit around to the back. I didn't actually lengthen it even, which is something I'm normally tempted to do on a pattern. Time taken to sew up the actual pattern, it's a really quick make. You can definitely do it in a day if you put your mind to it. I'd say even a beginner. It's just the top stitching that might be a bit of an issue, but you could do matching top stitching and not have to worry as much. Yeah, I'd say the longest part for me was having to unpick seams from the original sets of jeans. As you can imagine, they're really well made, so but you can also see how dusty they get. Yeah, so I had to unpick all those seams first, which is the one reason why I postponed this project as well, because I had started to dismantle these jeans and then it was taking so long that I gave up. Probably took the most time on top stitching just because I wanted it to look nice and even. Yeah, so my overall impression of this pattern is I definitely like this make. It's interesting because I wasn't too sure about the Cleo dress to start with, just because it is quite a basic pattern. I wasn't sure if it would be that flattering, or because I've got quite a I don't know, rectangular figure, I'd say anyway, so I wasn't sure if that was just going to accentuate that up and down look, but actually now I've made it and I'm wearing it, it's so comfortable and I don't think it looks that bad at all. So yeah, it's a win all round really, nice, fast, pretty easy, satisfying make. Yep, so that's it on the review. So next I'll show you how exactly I made this from 2 pairs of jeans. So like I say, I've got the pockets from 1 set of jeans. The front piece is made from 1 set of jeans, as you can tell because it's all the same colour. And then the back piece I had to stitch together from a few bits of the fabric left. Yeah, so I made the straps out of one of the fabrics. I think it's the one that I got the pockets from. As you can tell, it's slightly different. And the facing, probably worth noting, that was also made from the other fabric, but I did have to make that out of 2 pieces, so I added a seam allowance, then stitched that together in order to have enough fabric to make a matching facing piece. But anyway, that's enough from me. I'll show you the clips now. Okay, so as you can see, I've already unpicked most of the seams on the 2 pairs of jeans, so I'm just trimming them, neatening them up a bit here. Right, so this is when I was making the back pieces. I didn't have enough width on the trouser legs to fit the whole back piece on, as you can see there. So what I thought was, I'll keep, because this pair of jeans had a seam at the front, I believe. It had an additional seam, so I thought I'd utilise that and square them off, and then add a bit of the other pair of jeans to make it a bit wider. So you can see here I'm just unpicking the hem off the other bit of the jeans, squaring it off again. So I've taken off the top part, which I might use in a future project. Yes, this Fiskars guillotine's really handy actually for doing nice straight cuts such as this. So this is the other pair of jeans, so as you can see, I'm going to square it off a bit so that I can join it onto the other pair of jeans. So I'm just getting rid of the curved edge. You can see the colour difference where the seams were as well. Yep, and then that's on the other side as well. Right, so once I had them there, you can see I'm now making sure that they appear the same way. Or that, you know, so when it was stitched up, it would mirror each side of the back pieces, so the right back piece would match up with the left back piece. So here I am just pegging it together. So here I am just checking my seam allowance, and I'm just stitching those 2 pieces together. Okay, so that's one side done, so I moved on to the other back piece side. So I've essentially created 2 additional seams. Okay, so then I got my overlocker out, and I believe I've just overlocked on one side. And then, so I've tried to mimic the other seam in the jeans. So as you can see, I've trimmed the seam allowance on the edge that I'm not going to overlock, so that then I could press it. So yeah, I'm trimming the seam allowance off both pieces on the bit that on the edge that I haven't overlocked, so that then I can press it and then do a bit of top stitching. And it looks like here I have used contrast thread to do this top stitching. Looks like I'm just doing a sample then. Always handy, make sure your tension's correct on your top stitching. Yep, so I've moved on to doing one of the pieces now. I'm also using a walking foot, I can see, so just to help it feed through a bit more consistently than a regular foot. Moved on to the other side. Okay, so with that done, I then decided which parts I wanted to be at the centre back. I lined the 2 layers up together so that they would look symmetrical. So that new seam I just created, I ensured that they both, on both pieces, they laid on top of each other. Here I'm just marking the notches, I think, on the other side, or just making it a bit clearer so that you can see. Okay, so then I was trying my best to match it up with the grain on the fabric. So yeah, then I started off with a rotary cutter, but actually it was quite challenging because... Yeah, so you can see here that I've then decided to pin it because the jeans were made of such a thick denim. It was moving around as I tried to use either the rotary cutter or the scissors. So I've decided it was best to pin. And then I used my dressmaking scissors to cut around it. So the reason I cut out the back piece first was just because I was making it out of the offcuts of the other, so I'd already had a look at the pattern and the pairs of jeans I had, and figured that I could make, I think it was out of the back pieces of one pair of jeans, I knew that I could cut out the front pieces of the Cleo out of it. So I wasn't concerned about that, I was just concerned about the back pieces, which, as you can see, I've cut out then. So I just wanted to make sure I got those pieces out before I cut any of the smaller bits, because worst comes to worst, especially the facings, I could have done in a different fabric. Okay, so you can see I'm pretty sure it's the back piece of 2 of the jeans. So when I got to this stage, I then realised that actually there was only just enough room, and I've got to be honest, I'm not completely sure that I did cut it exactly on the grain line.
because it was such a narrow margin to get it to fit on that piece because of the shape of the front of the Cleo. And as you can see here, I'm deliberating an awful lot, trying to work out how to fix it to the fabric. So anyway, it looks like I came to a decision. Like I say, I think it is slightly off the grain line, but because it's such a sturdy fabric, it hasn't made too much of a difference. But I mean, if I did it again, I'd probably pay a bit more attention to this point, or just reduce the seam allowance on one side, because I could have gone off slightly, because you do get a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance on this pattern. I wish I could cut as quick as this time lapse. Oh, okay, yeah, so here I think the bottom layer I knew wasn't quite as wide as the top bit of fabric, so you can see that I just used the tailor's chalk to line up exactly where the stitch line should be on that piece. So I'd follow that when I stitched it up together, and then I marked where the pockets roughly needed to be, although like I say, I was using the back pockets, so I didn't need to cut out those pieces. Okay, so with the remaining bit of the jeans, so I'm cutting out the final pieces. So these are the straps on the Cleo. So again, on these bits, I think I worked out that this was the best placement to utilize the fabric I had. So I think I could only get those the curved parts. I had to do it at the top and the end, because at face value it looks like I'm cutting it out really uneconomically. And if you can see the piece at the top that I've just finished cutting out, I've added a seam allowance, and that's because you do cut it on the fold for this pattern, but because I couldn't cut it on the fold, I didn't have a wide enough piece, I was going to stitch it together and create a seam to make the full piece. Again, it looks like I did it with the other curved piece as well. Is that the back facing, it looks like? Yeah, so I've added that seam allowance there as well, so the next step would be to stitch those. Yep, there I am off on the machine, threading it again, adding the correct coloured thread. I'm assuming I readjusted the tension after the top stitching, but I don't know. See, I really like the effect because you can see where the pockets have been on those pieces. Okay, so it looks like here I may have forgot to add some notches. Oh yes, yeah. So I think I've just realised that there are more notches on the facings than I actually had on that piece. So I'm just correcting it there. Okay, and then here I'm just overlocking those raw edges from the two seams that I created on the facings.
I hope you enjoyed seeing how I cut this pattern out of 2 pairs of jeans. Thanks for watching and see you soon.